go insane.
Hello and welcome back to the Madhouse. This will be episode 114. My name is the Ultimate Spy.
That's more than 6.
Joining me for this episode, I have
Steven Kovakovic. It's me, Steven, also known as Steve Kovak. I exist, I guess.
Good.
And here we see a wild Steve in his natural habitat. Also, hello,
Hey.
Kaylee, back at it again, and
Good. Yay.
I am very happy to be here. It's been so long.
4 months, my goodness. Talk about that in a bit, so everyone else,
know, right?
go ahead, do it to yourself.
It's me, the person who exists. I've not been here in a few thousand years, so yeah.
And here
That's
we see
true.
a wild person in his natural habitat.
Yep.
A wild person
Yep.
here.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I just had a what's his name? Steve Irwin moment.
Yeah.
Oh my god. No,
Crikey.
there's another Steve, and he hosts the show Crikey, it's the Irwins.
Wow.
And hey, it's bigdinoguy here.
Yay.
I saw the new Godzilla movie.
All I
Gotta
can
say,
do is you, Tom.
fucking
Spoil it.
fantastic.
Don't spoil it.
I want to see it.
I'm
I
not,
want to see
but
it.
I was back in Washington for about a
Oh,
week and a
yay.
half, and
What?
I was seeing a bunch of family members, like
Okay.
family. I saw family, and I saw it with my brother because he and I
hear
both love
Robert's talking.
Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
It's burning you, numbnuts. I visited Washington for about a week and a half for my dad's wedding. But when I was there, I saw basically my brothers, David and Caleb.
Sweet.
And
Yeah.
David and I went and saw the new Godzilla movie. Holy fucking shit, it was awesome.
I look
So
forward
to
to
any
it.
haters listening to this video, I have something to say. Up yours. It was amazing. It's certainly not the best movie ever made. It's not
No,
going to be a
obviously
masterpiece. And people's basically what people's making complain about it was that there wasn't. Well, the first movie that they did, the newer American
that
movie, it had
not enough Godzilla. That was just like 5 minutes.
yeah, it had basically Godzilla had 5 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
literally.
but they had one or two decent characters, but aside from that, it just wasn't worth it. This one ups the ante on the monsters fighting. I mean, there's literally 14 different monsters in it.
Oh yeah.
And
Holy damn.
I shit you not, there's 14 different monsters. Not all of them make appearances, though. But they have some really amazing callbacks so people that really love the original films like I do, I mean, you're going to love it.
Good.
But yeah, it was awesome, but they dug down on the character development big time. The character development was shit. Yeah, that's what people are complaining about, but frankly, it's a monster movie.
Yeah,
You don't want
exactly.
fucking character
Godzilla.
development in it.
Godzilla. As they say in Japan. Anyway,
I don't know why, but every time I think Godzilla, I think like you know those animes where it's like where I don't know, I just think of some like lizard anime and it's just weird. But it's not a lizard anime.
Anime or anime?
Anime.
Not a lizard anime.
Pretty sure that's how you say it.
Yeah,
But-
it's anime.
Yeah.
Anime.
What country are you from?
Anime.
Anime. Never heard of that before.
Anime.
Anyway, yeah,
It gives you your rashes in places you don't want to know.
Would be how it would be pronounced in Japan, but I've never heard an American say that. So
Well, first time for everything.
Anyway,
True.
so yeah, this is episode 114, and let me explain the gap. So it's been a long time. It's been since like February of this year since we last had a podcast, and the reason for that is because around April, I was not happy with my channel. It was becoming something that I didn't want it to become, and it just wasn't doing it for me, and I needed a break. I'm like, well, if I take a break, it's going to mean that I can't do the podcast with everyone, so that also, another reason is because every time I try to get people together for this particular topic, it just wouldn't work because people weren't available. I worked it out, but again, my whole channel had to be put on hiatus because I needed time to rest and collect my thoughts and figure out what I want to do with the channel. Now I have a different name and everything. So basically, that's the story about why it's been 4 freaking months since the last episode. And I apologize for that, but again,
a long time ago. But in the galaxy, not so far away.
Yes. Anyway, the topic for this episode will be on the original trilogy, because the last episode we did the prequel trilogy. Again, it's everything good about them. We can't. I specifically follow a page about the good things about the movies, and I hate it. People decide that these movies suck. Like, no. Specifically, because I grew up on those movies, and the original trilogy. Well, there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, I didn't really grow up on them until later. I kind of watched them. But there wasn't really anything wrong with them until people started really getting annoyed with the special editions. So that'll be this episode. I mean, unless we have anything else to talk about after that. But basically, the special editions were a thing that Lucas wanted to do. Not you, Lucas, George Lucas. He wanted to change them because at the time when the movies came out, they didn't have the technology available to make the really cool shots and all the really, really cool stuff they could do at the time, like make Mos Eisley bigger, for example, and do a bunch of really, really cool things.
There's another...
Oh, go ahead.
No, there's another reason. Okay, so we all know that the original trilogy was released in the 70s, right?
Yeah, in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, 70s, 80s. So like when they did the prequels, which were like in the 90s,
late 90s, early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
When they did the prequels, there was stuff that they wanted. They wanted the original trilogy to fit the prequels better.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's why they did stuff like adding Qui-Gon, adding Anakin's Force Ghost.
No, you must be thinking of a different character.
The special edition, did they not add Qui-Gon into that?
I don't think so.
Weren't there the
ghost? In the special edition? No.
No, they didn't do that. No, I think they added that in the prequels at one point. I think Qui-Gon had a voice singing Attack of the Clones, I'm pretty sure. I think.
So hang on, what are you talking about? The new series, or are you talking about the special edition?
She's referencing the other stuff. But like,
I'm talking about the special edition of the original trilogy.
I've only seen the special edition once.
I'm like 95% sure that they had Qui-Gon at the end of that.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, I'm thinking maybe a fan edit. Probably a fan edit.
I'm gonna look it up. Hold on.
Like a YTP probably had all the characters in ghost form. But yeah, because I own, or so my brother owns the special editions, the originals. I think we own the ones that came out in 2011, but Lucas wanted to go back and make the new ones, the original trilogy, better because the prequel trilogy did, quote, so well, according to some people like us.
Well, they made a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. So with the original trilogy, even though it was a masterpiece, and Empire Strikes Back is still one of the best in that trilogy, they still didn't have the technology they wanted at the time. Literally, I saw a documentary where Lucas was like, we didn't have the technology available at the time that we could do all this really cool stuff and make everything better. And then what really hurts me is looking at the videos about everything wrong with, and, for example, episode 4, it's like, oh, they had, sand troopers riding on these things. It's like, come on, people. And they added all this other stuff that made the prequel trilogy, it kind of came back more to the prequel trilogy, which I liked a lot. But I wanted to talk about that this week because nothing wrong with the original trilogy, just people have some issues with the re-releases. So whoever wants to start, talk about whichever episode, we can go from there. We can start with episode 4.
I'd just like to point out that I have only seen the special edition version once, and that was in like 2012.
Oh my goodness!
So
wow,
it's been
Disney
a long time.
ruined Star Wars according to some people. No, they just kind of bought it.
So I didn't really like the special edition that much, so I'm just going to talk about things that I liked about the originals.
Yeah, go ahead.
Keep things positive. Just as a disclaimer before we start.
Right, of course, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading like the Wikipedia page for the special edition. It was Anakin who they added in.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Fucking Qui-Gon? Why not?
I don't know.
Maybe Liam Neeson was too expensive.
People didn't really care. I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
They should have added Qui-Gon. Should have been in the special edition. because Qui-Gon was the best, and he would have saved Anakin, and it only makes sense.
Of course, yeah.
Although that would call into question where the hell he'd been for the past, 20-something years?
True, yeah, I suppose.
But we're still asking where the hell he is now, so I guess 20 years opposed to 50 years?
Well, he's dead, isn't he? Obviously.
Yeah, but why hasn't he come back as a Force ghost, though?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't think about that. I mean, I know he came back in the Clone Wars, but that's about it.
I mean, if they haven't, so it's been 50-something years since we've seen him, but if they had added it back in the special edition like I thought, it would have only been 20-something, but... That's
true. Yeah, it would have been interesting. I think that the reason why they had those kind of cameos, I guess, was because they wanted to connect it more with the prequels and make them more real. Like, make Coruscant... Oh, Coruscant's still a thing, however many years ago. How many years later, it's like, oh yeah, Coruscant's still a thing. That's actually one of the best parts about...
That's
about
true.
6 was the fact that they had the... they had Naboo, they showed Coruscant, and it was, I think they even showed Cloud City at one point, but yeah, they had some really cool shots of Coruscant and Naboo, and it's like, that was amazing.
I know.
I never thought they would have actually show,
but
these planets are still alive. If you're wondering, people, they still haven't been blown up by the Death Star yet, which is fantastic.
I mean, but if it were, though, then Palpy Boy wouldn't have had anywhere to have his empire, because that's where they did that.
Yeah, exactly. So starting with episode 4, well, I mean, obviously the first change that happened was the inclusion of episode 4, because when the prequels were made, it's like, wait, episode 1? What the hell? Some 70s kid wouldn't know that. Because
Yoda was.
Some people were really offended. It's like, oh no, wait, why is episode 1 a thing? I thought New Hope was that. It's like, nope, sorry. Lucas decided to go back and rename them, which I think is interesting. Although I don't know why they call it episode, but I guess saga, or actually the question is more the Roman numeral thing. But again, I guess the galaxy far, far away. People know that. But yeah,
call them episodes with Roman numerals because he was really influenced by sci-fi serials from the 40s that would use that format for.
Oh, you want interesting fact? Interesting fact about Star Wars, it is considered a space opera. Okay?
Yep.
Now, context. Space opera, when it was made, was actually a coined term. It was an insult because of the fucking drama and all the shit that people apparently didn't like. But guess what they did? They actually took that, owned it, and now it's a legit genre of movie.
And I was like,
the most successful one.
Space opera is literally an opera in space. It's like, no, not quite that. I mean, that would be a great joke. Like, oh, it's a space opera. That must be like an entire movie about just an opera in space.
I mean, there is that opera scene, though.
Well, that's true.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, because I know that the first change that Lucas made was adding an episode to the intro of all the opening crawls, because before it was just Star Wars and then the period of Civil War, that kind of stuff. But later on, he wanted to add more stuff to make it more real. So my question to you guys for episode 4: what were your favorite additions to the release? Actually, from 1987 to 2011, because they had multiple releases.
Sorry, I was looking for an eraser.
Okay.
I would say probably the fact that they were actually able to revamp the graphics and the effects and whatnot. But you want to know what I didn't like?
Oh,
Han shot first.
Yeah.
Han shot first.
Yeah.
And they changed it to make it like Greedo did.
I think one of the weird things about that shot, I think it was
if Greedo shot first, Han wouldn't be freaking alive.
Was that basically when they did that scene, when they re-released the scene, they digitally made Han's neck move? It's like, oh, that just looks weird. It's like, oh god. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever. It's like, what? No, you don't do that. You don't shift in post-production with digital effects to make
it. Karen, you can't just digitally move a guy's neck.
weird, but it wasn't horrible. I mean, it's like some people who were really upset about that particular shot, like the original release of that was the best version of that. So some people's opinion anyway. I don't really mind it. I'm not that scene doesn't really make me mad. I don't really it isn't really affecting me as much as other scenes in the re-release. At least for the first release in the 97. But there were quite a few changes I was noticing because I was looking at it was a video about like all the changes between the 3 releases they had. I think it was 1987, 2004, and 2011. I think I might be mistaken about that, but I know that they released another one in 2011 that might have changed more. I can't remember because I think I only own the 2004 version of the releases. But in the cantina scene, for example, there is like characters actually changed. There's a Wolfman in the original, and there's like I think Satan or something in the new one or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Or a new alien. It's wild. It's really wild. But like there were other things like, for example, I was watching Cinema Sins on everything wrong with episode 4, obviously the re-releases, and one of the things that I think it might have even been an honest trailer was there was this like moment you enter Mos Eisley, you get close to the when Obi-Wan and Luke enter the interior, and then you have this giant creature just moving around. It's like, get out of the way. It's like, okay, they must have had a reason for that. They must have had a reason to add that giant creature just lying in the way. It's like, I guess I had a reason for it, but
I don't know.
Probably one of my personal favorite things that they did with the stuff was the addition of the dewbacks. I love the dewbacks. They're awesome.
They couldn't really do anything with them in the original cut because they didn't really have the technology to make him, obviously use CGI to make him move more. So they just have like them that can move a little bit with the puppetry because I didn't really have a lot. But one thing that was really interesting about the land speeder, for example, because in the original release, they had a lot of trouble with the land speeder. Like they couldn't, like it literally was on the ground, and like they made it, the camera work made it look like it was. I think they used like an orange thing underneath to make it look like it was floating. But in the re-releases, they fixed that with making it actually look like it was floating, which is super cool.
Right.
And they also changed some of the dialogue, which I don't understand how they can do that, but apparently they can do that. But some of the bigger changes were like, bigger landscaping, a shot of the Falcon taking off, which is super cool, by the way. And I think the original release, people like I didn't like it, for example, but they had an actor playing Jabba. I did not like that. I mean, I never saw that version, but like,
I think hot take. I think a CGI Jabba the Hutt would have probably been their best bet.
The new one, not the 90s one. That was terrible.
Yeah, I know. Like a CGI Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah, that was.
And you want to know what? And you want to know what I find really interesting is that Hutts lived for a really long time, right?
Right.
Why didn't we see Gardula the Hutt, which was mentioned in the prequels? Where the hell was he?
I don't know.
Like, I would have been kind of interested to know.
I don't know.
He kind of felt like just thrown. Gardula, even though he was only mentioned in the prequels, it just felt like thrown away to me. And I feel like there could have been some potential for maybe a story there. I don't know if they covered it in the Clone Wars, though.
I know they had Zero the Hutt in the Clone Wars. I haven't watched in a while, but I know they had that.
Zero the Hutt. I liked that.
Yeah, they also had Gordola in the Clone Wars. They had the entire Hutt Council in it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I remember that, but
all of them fucking hated Zero, which I bet
happened.
Oh, I love that they hated Zero because he was a fucking prick.
Right.
But yeah, one of the things that I liked about the new design of Jabba in Episode 4 was it looked exactly the same as Episode 1, which is like, I mean, I don't know if that's continuity error because it might maybe age different, but the fact that they made him look exactly the same as the one in Episode 1, I don't know. I think that's pretty good. I don't know if age really mattered at that point, but like the fact that they had the same modeling is interesting.
Well, what I do know is that the Hutts, I don't know if this is canon or not, but here's how Hutt babies are born. Okay.
Yeah.
They usually spend about 50 years in because Hutts, they're basically space slugs.
Right, of course.
So they have this like pouch or whatever or something like that, and that's where the Hutt babies stay for usually about 50 years.
Right. Yeah,
but,
of course.
Jabba was actually, interestingly, the exception to that rule. He decided to have his son, Rhoda the Hutt.
Yeah.
Rhoda, how the hell do I pronounce that name?
Rhoda.
Rhoda. And he decided to have him experience the world, so that wasn't the case. But with that in mind, I don't think 20 years would have made the biggest difference. I think 20 years he would have been pretty much staying the same, because Hutts, not only do they have that, but they live for a really long time. So it's like, yeah, I don't think.
Yeah,
so I think it makes more sense that he would be pretty much the same.
Now, there's two things about the re-release of Episode 4 that really made me confused, and actually they even did it later in the later movies with Episodes 5 and 6. For example, the first one was there's a scene where the Jawas, I think they're like, it's a scene where I think it's a scene where, maybe not the Jawas, but like where the Tusken Raiders attack, and Lucas decided to go back and unnecessarily add a CGI rock in there. It's like, how does that even?
That rock was my vision.
Like, I only think about. I mean, we're talking about the great good thing about it, but like, there are some times we can talk a little bit where I'm like, I don't understand why they did that. Like, why would he put a rock there? You can't even. There's no way he could have fit in there. Like, come on.
That I guess they just did it. It was one of those things where you do it just to do it. Like, there's maybe it's comic relief, maybe it's I don't know. But I found that not everything in a movie is it serves an obvious or clear purpose. Sometimes they do things just to do it, kind of like Easter eggs.
That's true, yeah.
Like, it's not really
kinda.
like it's not really meant to be part of a. It's not meant to have much of a purpose in the movie, but it is meant to be something like entertaining for people to watch and have and figure and look at and pick apart.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Although, if you ask me, the rock was probably there just for fun. I mean, who doesn't want to see a rock thrown?
It's like, there's no way R2 would have gotten in there because of the freaking CGI rock. It's like, what the hell?
Right?
Who
doesn't want to see a CGI rock, though?
It's one of the things that I did not like about that one scene. I mean, there are some things there's the rest of them I like, but there's some things where it's like, okay, that's just weird. One of the things that I also didn't understand was the added dialogue. How is that even possible? Like, in the original Patrick release, there's a line where Beru says, tell uncle, and then they change it to tell your uncle. It's like, where did you get the dialogue? Where did you get the extra dialogue? I don't understand.
I want to guess that too. I want to guess what they did was they took like sound bite. They took a sound bite from the original trilogy, and they did a little classic copy paste, and they put that in there like that. That would be my best guess, and that would make sense, especially if Beru actually isn't on screen at the time.
True.
They could easily do that. Was she on screen actually, or was she off screen?
Oh, she was on screen.
Who was?
Okay. If she was on screen,
it was a scene where Beru talks to Luke the first time, and it was asks uncle to do that, and then change to ask your uncle or something like that. It was just, I didn't understand how they were able to pull it off. There's a lot of dialogue where they were able to record.
Maybe they CGI'd her mouth to mouth the word and then added the sound bit.
That would be weird.
Yeah, I mean, like I could see it though, because if you're seeing her face and she is on screen, they might have to do that. Otherwise, it look weird.
I've seen CGI mouth in like Attack of the Clones where Padme eats a CGI fruit, and it's CGI she eats it like a CGI mouth. It's so weird. That's just an example of weird stuff. But
Right.
I think really wrong with episode 4. There was some. I like the fact that they added a lot more shots to it. Like the X-wings were given more shots, so you could actually see people in the X-wings. The Death Star being blown up was given like a ring. There was just a lot more they were able to add to it to make it more lively and more kind of like how the prequels did it, where CGI, but in general they just did a lot better at it, making it feel like the rest of the saga. Some people who are still complaining about the fact that now the Disney and Fox, they want the unreleased, they want the unaltered cuts. Like, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm a fan of the special editions because I'm tired of hearing the hate about the crappy cuts. Like, come on, people, it's Star Wars. You have your opinions. It's like,
personally, with me and Star Wars, so I grew up on pretty much the special editions.
Right, of course.
However, with that being said, though, I remember there was one and only time that George Lucas released the original. Now I'm talking original as in the first time that was aired on TV, because unfortunately,
like the OG.
after it came out in theaters, he did another special edition in between. And that's what people saw on their TVs. That's what people purchased with the VHS. So he did the original VHS version and stuck it on a DVD.
Oh, yeah.
And my dad... Star Wars is one of the things that I was raised on. And Dad and I both loved Star Wars. So as soon as Lucas released that, where it had the original version that was released onto the TV, he snatched it up. And we watched it.
You have the OG. That's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Well, he did it for like a very limited time, and basically a tin. So it wasn't the original as seen in the theater version, because that one basically is just long gone. No one can possibly have unless they have the rough cuts of the film.
Right, of course.
But I mean, as soon as he released it on VHS, he did a couple of tweaks here and there. But I can't tell you how amazing it was to finally watch when Han Solo shot Greedo, that bastard, down first. I watched it and I jumped for joy. I'm just like, yes! I love it!
Yes! Stuck in Greedo!
But with that being said, though, I hate to admit it. So I've had the opportunity to watch both the original ones up until... Well, I actually still haven't seen the Blu-ray ones. Yeah. But I have seen parts of it. And... while I don't agree with a lot of the changes, Greedo shooting first being the prime example that myself and so many other people like you guys all fucking hate. Yeah, I think that having Greedo shoot first eliminates the character of Han Solo.
That Greedo would shoot first. Han would be dead.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, with him switching his head over, that's humanly impossible. But in addition to that, though, it doesn't work for his character. One of the reasons why I personally love Solo is because he was a bit of a jackass for a lot of it.
He was Corellian. That's all you need to know.
Exactly. And that's what he was until he met Han, and until he met Luke and Obi-Wan and all the gang. Before that, he was an asshole to a lot of people, and he didn't give a shit who died.
Yeah.
And changing that with his Greedo shooting first thing, it doesn't work for his character. It doesn't work for who he is.
Character.
It really doesn't.
I mean, it might have worked like in episode 2 or 3, which is what I mean by like 5 and 6 technically, but I digress. But aside from that, it doesn't really work all that well.
It doesn't make sense for Han to just sit there. No, Han would have done something. Because, he's a Corellian. That's all you need to know. He's cocky. He's kind of a jackass, like you said. He's arrogant.
Kinda?
Yeah.
But
a little bit more than kinda, and that's what makes him so cool.
It is.
And with that being said, though, there are some other tweaks that I think really improved it. Like, you can't tell me that the little dancing lady, the one with the really long snout, dancing lady is ugly as hell in the special edition, But they had a fucking puppet.
Who was that?
They had a fucking puppet, and
I like the CGI version a little more.
No, they had a puppet. It was butt ugly. The CGI was, yeah, let's just say it was at least a slight improvement over the.
I liked it.
Nightmare-inducing green
was
bitch.
It, that one person that Vera was with in the
one thing that I actually liked about the special edition is just that was so weird and out of the blue, and I loved it.
I'm looking at just like scrolling through the corrections that they made. One of the really interesting things about Episode 4 that they changed was when Han runs through the Death Star and like comes about a bunch of troopers. In the special edition, they changed that, and they actually shot a new scene where it was a bunch of troopers, like actual people in suits, and they were able to shoot a new scene where they just composited over that shot, and it's so cool. Like it had a bunch of new troopers, and it's so great. I don't know if you guys remember that scene.
I don't.
Hang on, which one? Sorry, I couldn't quite hear the whole thing. Which one are you talking about?
It's in Episode 4 when Han is running through the Death Star.
Oh yes.
They added more in the special editions, which is fantastic. That was like
that was awesome because in the original it was only like 5 or 6, and I was like, oh my god, we're running screaming. So when
Han wouldn't have been running from a few like 5 or 6 people. He would have taken them down. So I like how it would only make sense if there was a bunch more because he would know he's fucking out of gun. And we all know how stormtroopers are with shooting. So
I mean,
he would have just been like, "Peace out, bitches."
Because they always miss.
And just.
I mean, like he was chasing down like 3 or 4 people to begin with, and then hey, there's 6 more. Oh my god! And then all of a sudden there are hundreds more. Oh fuck!
Right?
Yeah,
that would be an oh fuck Han moment.
Definitely. So that's not really all.
Hey, everyone needs a hobby. I'm not going to judge you, but really,
pretty much all I had to say about the changes made to Episode 4. That I didn't really have anything issue with the Episode 4. Is that the good stuff was just like the added shots, the enhanced stuff like that. They added some more takeoffs of ships and stuff. They added more detail, stuff like that. So nothing really horrible. But I'm looking real quick just so we can actually talk about this stuff. I actually pulled up a video of all the changes they made to the next movie, Empire Strikes Back. And one of the more interesting things they shot, new stuff actually, because a lot of the stuff they actually shot more of to kind of composite over, is in Episode 5. Because when Luke was like strapped to the ice or whatever, in the little wampa thing, they didn't really have the wampa in the scene. They just had like a noise of it. But what was really cool about the change they made, at least in the first version of the special edition, was they actually had a wampa like eating something. It was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting the way they did
well,
that.
also in the original, like there was a deleted scene where C-3PO and R2 are running through the halls from the stormtroopers, and they happen to come across this little area where they had wampas. Where they had wampas just in their cages. So they made it look like they went in. Stormtroopers came, they had a surprise wedding.
Oh my!
But you can actually find that online. I mean, it's a deleted scene, but they have it online. Funny as hell.
Oh, they always will have it online.
This scene actually reminds me of a really funny Robot Chicken episode that kind of pays tribute and kind of continues the story of the relationship between Luke and the Wampa in a Robot Chicken episode. I don't think it was Luke is getting gas and the Wampa's getting gas. And
I love that one.
Oh, God.
It's so awkward. It's like, oh no,
poor boy.
I arm off. Oh shit. It was hilarious because I love Robot Chicken. But that particular episode was so funny because like Luke feels so bad. Like, oh shit. It's like, oh no, it's the Wampa. He mostly pissed at me. It was hilarious.
Oh yes, it was. I love that one.
Right.
Let's see. I'm just looking for any. Actually, I think one of the weirdest things that happened in the Dagobah scene. I'm just kind of skimming through here. They changed some of the dialogue for the. I think they actually added a R2-D2 head pop-up in the special edition. I don't know which one. I think it might have been the 2011 one. They added a head pop-up of R2-D2 where like part of his his dome can like pop up. But they also added some more dialogue for Luke, and apparently they thought they could get away with it by making Luke's mouth darker, so you couldn't really see him like talk or something. So they could add the dialogue. It was really weird. I think it went from "you're lucky to get out of there" to "you're lucky you don't taste very good." I think that was what it was. I don't remember exactly. But again, the dialogue changes in these movies are what's really interesting, and the fact that can actually pull it off.
Interesting, good or bad way?
I don't know. It's sometimes it's really hard to notice. Like you don't really think about like, oh, they changed the dialogue, or they added the dialogue. That's interesting. Okay, didn't really think about that kind of thing. Like, how would they pull it off?
I'm gonna say a full disclosure because everyone thinks it as well. Yeah. But I love George Lucas and I thank him for what he did. But dude can't do writing worth shit.
Oh, I
mean, seriously. Look at the auto and what they're saying in the original trilogy, or I'm sorry, in the prequel trilogy, where Ian McGregor, where he says, "Saw him killing younglings," he had to stroke his chin because he was laughing so hard.
Oh yeah, remember that.
And
we talked about the last time.
Don't get me wrong, I love George Lucas and his work. He's an amazing person, and I thank him for what he gave us with Star Wars. But dude can't do writing. I mean, seriously, he doesn't know how to do writing that way.
Yeah, great.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess. I mean, again,
it wasn't perfect.
You can't be perfect.
I'm not trying to say it to like bash him or anything like that. I'm just I mean, I seriously do thank him for what he did.
So, the next change that happened in episode 5 that I do want to talk about because it's really, really interesting because it does make Ian McDiarmid's performance in 5 films actually was the change of the Emperor. I actually like this change. I don't know about you guys, but I liked it a lot. The fact that they changed the Emperor from the original Dr. Who, who's a different actor, to the Emperor seen in episode 6 and also episodes 1 through 3. A lot better.
Right, that's a change that makes sense.
It does. It's way better too. I actually like that change a lot. It just plus the Emperor they had was just horrifying. It's just hideous. I mean, I know the Emperor's already hideous, but like he just did not.
I
look
think
good.
that was intentional, but
he did not look good at all in that. When they changed it, it looks way better. I mean, I think people are complaining about the fact that he looks like the Emperor from Revenge of the Sith. I can kind of see that, but at the same time, I guess maybe time gap. They wanted to make it look better. I don't know. But still, that was a change that I actually liked a lot because it just made a lot more sense. And honestly, the Emperor changing where they recast the actor, they filmed new footage with Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor for episode 5, where Darth Vader is talking to the Emperor.
Oh, talking to the definitely big time because originally they tried to have a chimp and prosthetics.
Oh God, it was.
I shit you not. That's what they had. Then they cast him in it, and it's like, yeah, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah, no. But one of the really, really interesting things is it kind of had the whole, the idea of clones is they had the guy who played Jango Fett dub over the voice of Boba Fett in episode 5. I mean, he also makes it. Boba Fett actually makes a cameo in the re-releases, but they dubbed him over, and it's way better, in my opinion at least. We're talking about the good things about it. So I actually like the change that they made to Boba Fett's voice. They made him sound exactly like Jango Fett, and that's good because, again, they're clones, so it makes sense. I don't know what your guys' opinion about that is, but I think that was a really good change.
Well, personally, I don't. I remember seeing the original thing like I was telling you about there, but I only watched it a couple times. So the one that I know the best is the original trilogy. Is the special edition. Yeah. So I can't say one way or the other. However, the actor who played Boba Fett, you know that he was pissed off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is really.
You got to know that he was fucking pissed when they changed that.
I mean, they did it. They had a reason for it because they wanted to make it sound exactly the same because it's clones and everything. And some people just have their opinion about that, but I personally think that was an interesting change. It was like, oh, that's cool.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. Yeah. But a lot of people hated that. He's a clone? No. Personally, I love it. I think that's awesome having him as a clone.
He's no good to me, did. Like that kind of like New Zealand accent. Like that's one of the lines that changed to make it sound exactly the same. It's like it's interesting. It's definitely something that was I feel like it was a good change, and they did a pretty good job with that. Now, one of the things that I liked a lot, and again, it's the thing that happened in all the movies, was they gave Cloud City more life. They showed more of it, because in the original cut, they didn't really have a lot of technology again, so they didn't really have that opportunity to do that, so that when they changed it, they could actually show more of Cloud City, which I actually think is a really cool thing, because it kind of gives you because it kind of, again, it ties in with the prequels because of how, the CGI was a thing then, so they could actually show that and kind of give you make it full of life. I feel like they didn't really have that in the original cuts, which I was a bit disappointed with. Again, the releases weren't all that bad. There's plenty of the good things. Although one thing I forgot about episode 4 was the lightsaber color of Luke's. When he's training his lightsaber, that was one of the things where I was like, oh, well then. So I was. It was just a weird little thing they had where Luke's lightsaber was green at one point. I mean, his lightsaber does eventually become green in the end, but originally, because of I can't remember exactly what caused it. I think it was something with the coloration and post production.
Well, the reason, basically what they used originally was the pipes that they used for on the end of the lightsaber. Yeah. His was originally green. That's how it was, and basically that made the whole tint.
That makes sense, yeah. Because it's just a weird thing that they did for that particular.
Wasn't intentional. They had no choice.
Just because it was like unusual, because it's supposed to be blue, but they were able to change it. I don't think I think that it still ended up being like white in the new releases, which is annoying. But at the same time, it's just odd. It's just like, oh, weird. It's supposed to be green, but okay. But you mentioned earlier, I think that's all I had about talk about with episode 5, because I think all I can say. I don't really think there's anything. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about for episode 5's changes that were good, you liked a lot?
Episode 5 one. I thought we were still on episode 4. Okay. Episode 5 is my all-time favorite Star Wars movie of all time, hands down. If you're going with purely Star Wars stuff, it is hands down the greatest one that I personally know of.
The greatest film in the world.
I love it all the way through. And I know a lot of people are like, I love you, oh no! And they're like, oh boy, what the hell are we watching? But god damn it, I love that line. Yeah. God damn it, I love that line. We were just talking about how edgy Han is. Well, I love you. Okay, I'm gonna be a dick, I know. But god damn it, I love that scene. And frankly, to me, episode 5 is a goddamn masterpiece. I love it. Beyond...
it's good. It's really wonderful that they were able to pull it off. Especially when you think about when it is a film. Like, for example, I was at AnglyCon 2 years ago, 2017, December. And because I didn't really know the guy, but I'm like, oh, I should ask him a question. And I asked the guy who worked on episode 5 about the scene where Luke is falling through the big tunnel thing, whatever you call it. And it was actually a Mat-A painting, which is really cool. I think I've talked about it before, but it's a really cool detail they do, because they use a lot of Mat-A paintings. So a lot of what you see is actually a painting.
I really liked that about the original trilogy. Actually, that was something that they did a lot, where they'd have paintings as
it's a really cool way to like cut down on money, because again, it was a big budget, but it was like a really wonderful way to do it. Because of the technology they had at the time, they were able to do with that, which is very cool. But basically, it was just a really cool thing about the entire original trilogy, was the fact they were able to use Mat-A painting, which is, again, at the time was a really neat way to make effects work. Especially when you think about how it's done, it's just really cool. And it's something I never thought about before. Like, oh, so they actually had a Mark Hamill fall on top of a painting, or so it seems. I don't know exactly how. I think it might have been like they used a dummy or something like that to make that work. But it looked amazing. Now, is anything else to talk about for episode 5? Because I can talk about episode 6, but we can also finish talking about 5. Episode 5 really changed the way we look at science fiction movies, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Because it was really well written, the acting was really, really good. The whole I think that the thing about episode 5 that made it really interesting was I mean, obviously the reveal of Darth Vader being the father, but also the love triangle between, so supposedly because Han didn't know, between Leia, Luke, and Han, because again Han didn't know that they were brother and sister at the time, and what's really interesting was Luke learning that Leia was his sister, which is very awkward if you think about it because of that kiss they had. That was just like
you don't say. And did you notice though in episode 6 when she's like, "He's my brother," Han's expression is like, "What the fuck did I just walk into?"
Yeah, definitely. It's a. I think that's why that was really well written, because it's so weird when you think about it that way, just because of how it's done. But actually, let's move to episode 6. I'll talk about that briefly. With episode 6, it was interesting because of the fact that with episode 3 to 4, and then episode 3 to 6, we finally get Leia talking about her mother, but it's not actually Padme, which is very interesting. I mean, I think that at the time
she was adopted.
They didn't know they were going to do the prequels trilogy at the time, so they probably didn't know what they were going to.
No, I think they always knew, but she was literally adopted, so exactly. She had a mother.
That's how I always thought.
Exactly, it's always been something really interesting. Like she actually mentions her adopted mother instead of actually Padme, which is, I mean, it's obvious because that's the only person she knew growing up. So like, it makes sense.
But then why did she remember Padme? How?
What do you mean?
Let's just say the Force and leave it at that.
Yeah, we're going with the Force.
But one of the things that was really, I mean,
the Force? No, the Schwartz.
One of the things that was really interesting about the costumes in terms of Leia, for example. One thing I just like, I mean, I think everyone knows at this point about the fact that it was space and they didn't really want to do that because it was too revealing. Weird stuff about that. The fact that they had to put something in Leia's costume, or sorry, Carrie Fisher's costume, to make it less revealing or something. Just weird stuff. Because again, she's a princess, but at the same time, she can't show her stuff. Weird. I don't know what the deal with that was, but again, it was space. They didn't really have. I don't know.
Are you talking about in episode 5 where the whole thing with the undergarment stuff?
Episode 4, Leia's dress thing.
Oh, yeah. So episode 4 versus 5. You know what Lucas said? George Lucas, not you, Lucas. Don't worry. He said, and there is an underwear in space, and so that's why she didn't wear anything under.
Very interesting.
He fucking said it, and then look at what he had happen in episode 5.
Oh yeah,
undergarments. That was it. So she was like, "What the fuck is going on there?"
So is there underwear in space or not?
In space, no one can see your underwear.
When you look at episode 6 with the Leia bikini thing, it is like
oh yeah, 6. Sorry,
bikini thing. That was just
why the hell did I say episode 5?
I think you're
God, that's brain fart. Yes, I did.
Yeah, episode 6 was one of those movies where that just became a controversy with the whole Leia bikini thing. Like, obviously.
A controversy.
I think that's what it was, right? I think.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think it was. There's a lot of sexism over that particular costume. It was a pretty big deal with that movie. I don't know why people kept going crazy about that, but like, I think at this point it's like
because it's a kids show, and besides, you know what they used to do with shows and whatnot. They wouldn't let someone even like. One of the reasons why some of the older shows had like really whippy quips or like, oh my god, they said that.
Yeah.
Is because that was the only way they could get past the censors.
It's true. That's true. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah,
pretty much.
Okay, well, there you go. But yeah, basically episode 5, it was a good movie. Having him visit Yoda, that was really, really cool. I love seeing Ben again, in ghost form. That was really, really good. Just seeing him train with Yoda was just wonderful. So,
I forgot to say with episode 5.
Yeah.
Can we backpedal there for a minute?
We're still on the topic, so go ahead.
Oh, I thought we were on 6 already.
Well, I'm kind of
going all
that
over
way,
the
but we can finish up with 6.
Okay, yeah, I'm paying attention halfway. I mean, what? No, but episode 5 to me also one of the reasons why I love that one is because they have Yoda in it. Yoda has just always been one of those amazing characters that you can see.
Right.
I've always loved him, and
Exactly, yeah.
and first seeing him when I was a little kid. So, background here.
Yeah.
The reason why I fucking hate E.T.
Eat phone home.
E.T. go to hell.
The game.
Like AD. That's
the
actually
game.
the first time I've ever heard
Because
something like
when basically the reason is because when I was really young, my parents showed me E.T. and it scarred me for fucking life. It scarred me.
Ooh.
And so today, still, when I watch anything with like E.T., I can't watch it. I simply can't. Because I got fucking. I don't know. It's one of my worst fears,
Something about
actually.
it just creeps you out.
Well, they didn't put that in episode
when
1.
they have a guy in a spacesuit walking in to find an alien pale on the ground, it's like, hell, man. With me being about 3-5 years old, not even that, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And so when growing up though, the only things with anything extraterrestrial related at all that I could watch was Star Wars and Star Wars and
what the hell?
and Star Trek.
Well, there are aliens, yes. It's the same thing.
Well, later on, aliens. Actually, that's part of the thing that helped me get over homophobia, to be honest. Yeah. But I digress.
I was the same way with Signs. I was terrified of that movie.
I've never seen Signs. I don't want to.
It terrified me. Don't watch it. It's just. I was young. I didn't know what I was in for. I wasn't forced. I was just like, it's a movie. Let's watch it. Like, okay. Oh my god.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Turn me off. Basically.
But yeah, not E.T. Fucking E.T. But yeah, with Yoda though, it was always special for me to watch him there because he was one of the very few aliens that were entirely unreal. Like, no way in hell can it be from Earth, kind of a thing. And yet, I love that character, and so for me, it was awesome.
Definitely, and I feel like the fact that they used a CGI Yoda for episode 2 was just brilliant because I was watching a documentary about the fact that they had Puppet Yoda, which at the time was great because they had great lines like do or do not. There is no try. I love that line. But like it's interesting when episode 2 Yoda, it just works a lot better because they used the same facial structure. I mean, it wasn't the same like model or anything, but they used the same facial structure, and it looks a lot better because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when episode 5 Yoda was a thing, he didn't really fight because again he was older, and they wanted to have the Yoda you see in episode 2 is younger. Same thing with episode 1 Yoda, except that puppet Yoda, terrifying. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but
I love the Puppet Yoda. The Puppet Yoda was amazing.
One was just terrifying.
Oh, you're talking about episode 2. Never mind. Episode 2 Puppet Yoda. Oh yeah, haunt my dreams.
That was then they fixed it with episode. They re-released episode 1 with the CGI Yoda, but I like the fact that episode 2 Yoda, they had him at like a very young age. He actually was able to fight. That's why the prequels were so good because of him in the fighting and the fact that episode 5 he was in his older age. That's why he didn't really do anything more than use the Force and train Luke, obviously. But like that's why episode 2 Yoda is so good because he's younger, and that's why I like him. And also that's why episode 5's Dagobah scene was one of my favorites, just because of the training montage. I remember actually going, because I think about I think it was my aunt, that had the 90s version of the special editions, and I kid you not, I would watch the training montage, especially when Luke flips through the air, over and over again. I would watch it, rewind it again. I would just I love that scene. I just love it. I don't know what's about that scene that makes me so.
You like to see men in tight clothing doing backflips. I like to see him
flipping. I don't know. It was really amazing to see that particular scene. I just kept watching it over and over again. But at the same time, that movie was phenomenal. Nothing really anything really wrong with it.
Phenomena.
Steve, favorite special edition, favorite changes.
Special editions. Oh
yeah,
right.
That's what we're talking about.
Probably the best thing about the special editions are the fights, the battle scenes with like the X-wings and all that stuff. Those effects were pretty cool. And Emperor and Empire Strikes Back looks 1,000 times better.
Right.
That too.
And,
yeah.
But we're on episode 5. We're gonna finish up. I want to ask you real quick, what was your favorite change from that special edition?
What was my favorite?
I mentioned the Emperor, but like, what all did you like about episode 5 special edition? Because that's what people hate most about that particular trilogy was the special editions. Unfortunately,
another cool thing is the windows that they added on in episode 5 on the I forget the name of the planet. Or it's like the city with like Are
you talking about Cloud City?
The Lando guy.
Cloud City?
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So in the special edition has
the planet you're looking for is
basically windows added so you can see into the city. So it's not just
I was thinking that was a really cool feature. Yeah.
Yeah, like that made it feel more alive.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They really made it. They made it feel more alive and more.
At least with that one, like episode 5, I think did the best job when it came to the changes. Episode 4 was
it wasn't all that
bad. Episode 4.
I didn't really like the scene where they showed them going into the town. That was kind of
it's okay. I mean, there are some.
Yeah,
again,
I mean, it could be worse, but
I'm trying to be positive here. But at the same time, I get what you're saying.
I like how they redid the ships.
The ships were really good. Yeah, like the
takeout. I actually have the Rebel X-wing, the Imperial Star Destroyer, and Vader's TIE Fighter.
Basically, that's all I can say about Episode 5. Pretty much. I think one of the things that I noticed in Episode 5 that they added actually was there's a scene between Luke and Biggs. It was actually a deleted scene that they put back into the special edition, which is actually really important because it kind of shows the dynamic of that relationship, which is a very good thing because Luke talks about how he wants to get out of here and he thinks Biggs was right. I'm never gonna get out of this place, and they added that scene back in. And it was a really important scene because it really shows that Luke has a really good friendship with Biggs. I didn't really know much about Biggs. I just know he was a friend of Luke's.
And then Biggs dies a few minutes later. Yeah. Don't be friends with the Jedi.
Definitely. Oh, the one blooper scene, I guess, not really a blooper scene, more like a accidental thing, but they did put it in the final version anyway, was when Mark Hamill accidentally said Carrie's name.
Oh, yeah, and then they had to keep it in there.
It was just like, because it was a perfect take. It was like, but it ended up being just so awkward. It's like, oh, I called you Carrie, not Leia. Oops. Oops. It was just like, that was episode 4, I think. Yeah, anyway. So, last but not least, episode 6. I'm on the, one of the scenes, I'm just like an image of the band scene. Now, they changed that. I think you talked about this, about the fact that they changed the little weird person who was singing and her lips became the view was just like all CGI and everything. When it puppet to a CGI character, and then you have this guy going, up to the camera and just like opening his mouth and going ah. I think it was called a left cheek neck or something like that. It's some band thing for Jabba the Hutt in episode 6. Remember that, guys? It's Jedi Rocks. Jedi Rocks. That was what it was called.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that was actually a really cool thing.
I don't.
You don't? Oh, it was basically they added a new basically they updated the scene of Jedi Rocks, which is basically the band that plays for Jabba the Hutt in episode 6. And they added a bunch of CGI characters. Like I think they replaced some of the puppet that they really didn't have any movements at all, and they made him CG. And in my opinion only, I thought that was actually not bad. It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
That wasn't bad.
The Dana guy said he wasn't a fan of the CGI, whatever the creature was that was singing. Yeah,
that weird thing.
Again, opinion, but again, we're trying to be positive here. But that was a really, it was good, and I did like the fact that they had that because it just, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the guy that went up to the camera and just like opened his mouth and started like screaming. I don't know what that was about. That was just it was weird. But okay. So real quick on the next part of it, episodes that actually was really, really cool and was a great addition was the Sarlacc pit. They changed that. They updated it and made it a lot more menacing. They actually gave like a beak and more teeth and everything and made it more lively. I mean, it was obviously CGI, but it was good. Do you guys remember that? They basically give it a beak, essentially.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, they gave it a beak and arms.
It was just insane. It was like, what the hell? Well, here's one thing. Wicket's eyelids. There was so much people going crazy about how it was an unnecessary change. It wasn't. It's like, suddenly he's blinking. Wicket. Suddenly Wicket blinks now. It's like, whoop-de-doo. It's such a horrible change. I don't understand why people thought that was a terrible thing. It wasn't that bad.
I watched it. It was kind of creepy.
Really?
Yep, I watched it. It was kind of creepy. Like, what the fuck is that?
Okay. So you have a different opinion. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so real quick, let me move through here. Here's one that a lot of people I think a lot of controversy was over. When Vader dies, or he's like about to die. In the original version, the actor who plays him had eyebrows. They removed that in the 2004 version, is what it says, because they wanted to match the continuity with Episode 3's events. So yeah, he doesn't have eyebrows anymore. I think it actually works a lot better. It works, in my opinion, better because it works with the continuity of that thing. Because why would he have eyebrows after he was flamed? Right. He cut it on fire.
Well, and it was kind of weird in the original because he was bald and scarred on the top of his head, but he had eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird and unnecessary.
So that is another change that I think I'm okay with.
Yeah, I just feel like it made sense with the end of Episode 3 because he got all scarred up and everything like that. And
well, it just makes sense in general, in my opinion.
What, to have eyebrows?
Yeah, getting rid of the eyebrows.
Oh, I thought you meant to say to have eyebrows because I don't think eyebrows were necessary.
I think getting rid of eyebrows was a good.
What would he have grown them? How
I
would he grow eyebrows? There's no way. He's burned. He's not alive, but he's burned to the crisp. There's no way he could have grown eyebrows in that process. Seriously, he's burned enough. There's no reason they would have had to have eyebrows. They got rid of that because it didn't work with the continuity of Episode 3, so that's why they did that. Now moving on to, I'm actually the last little bit of this. One of my favorite. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I love the additions of Cloud City, Tatooine, and Coruscant. Specifically, Coruscant with the Jedi Temple. That was the best.
I love the Jedi.
I love that. The fact that they had that
aesthetic of the Jedi Temple, though. Can we just take a second to appreciate?
Oh my God!
Do you appreciate what one?
The aesthetic of the Jedi Temple and just the Jedi in general. Can we appreciate this for a second?
It's beautiful.
I mean, okay. There's this Tumblr, Jedi Aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at that Tumblr.
Oh yes.
It's fucking beautiful. It's probably the most beautiful Tumblr I follow.
Nice.
And it is the way the temple is and the way it was built. I would 1000% there.
Yes.
As first opportunity.
Definitely. Now
Except
I'm actually looking at
being killed by
at the other editions, and I think I mentioned Naboo. I think I mentioned it earlier before we actually started the podcast. But they had Naboo, and I think it might literally just be taken from Episode 1's ending. I could be wrong though, but they might have just.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either if they just took it from the Episode 1 ending and just snack it on the end of Episode 6. I think it's interesting. I think it's a really good way to show that those planets are still alive and they haven't been able to the Death Star and they're still around in the galaxy because it worked with the continuity of Episode 3 to 6. It just works better with that. And you have the Jedi Temple, they had Naboo, they had Tatooine, everything. I just think it's beautiful. They added that in there. I don't know, guys. What do you think about it? Do you think there was necessary, unnecessary?
Kind of indifferent. I see why they did it.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think it was necessary, but I don't have anything against it.
Okay. So, how about you, Steve?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I thought that was kind of neat. I thought that it kind of showed like it made the whole thing feel bigger.
Definitely.
It made the whole event feel like a more important thing instead of, oh, he's dead now, whatever.
Yes.
It's more like, whoa, you know, it's
one giant celebration
for the whole galaxy. Like the whole galaxy is like, holy shit, the guy's dead.
No one liked the Empire. They're pricks.
You know, exactly. Okay, so real quick, going to okay, here's the biggest controversy, and people really complain about this. But basically, this is what I liked about what they did with Episode 6's ghost thing. So they added Hayden Christensen's head on top of the original actor for Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker in Episode 6, Sebastian Shaw, or whatever his name is. And they digitally replaced the head. I like that a lot because it gives the idea that Anakin has turned back to the light side right before he died. Like the moment that he dumped the Emperor down the shaft, he's become the light side.
The real reason why they did that, right?
I think they did anyway.
Well, the original reason why they got rid of the guy was because Lucas and him, they fought a lot. They hated each other.
Oh, no.
And so basically what happened originally was the guy that played Vader, because this is the day before the internet, and he was at a convention, and the rumor is, so I can't guarantee 100%, that he dropped the bomb that he was Luke's father.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee because I've heard the story differently. I can't guarantee at all. So don't quote me on that. I mean, I've heard it a couple different ways as well. But that's one of the rumors that were said. Like, he said it, and he was banned from all conventions of Star Wars. He was banned from everything in Star Wars. And they hated each other while they were filming as well. And so also with Hayden Christensen coming along, okay, I'm gonna flip you off. Moving from even more.
Are you serious?
Big ooh.
Oh my god.
So basically the guy that played yeah, pretty much. The guy that played Vader in the original stuff. Well, that's the reason why some people are like, hey, the role of Anakin is cursed. Because, with Hayden Christensen, that basically ruined his career. Well, at least he had a dud afterwards.
Wow. That's interesting.
And then with the guy that played Vader also having his stuff basically ruined, the guy that played a Little Orphan Annie was his life was just shit after he was in the movies. I mean, you know what happened with him. I mean, all the DUIs and everything like that.
Yeah.
So people are like, the role's cursed. The role's fucking cursed.
Yeah. I can understand that. But at the same time, I think the interesting thing about what they did with the costume and why Anakin is in cream-colored robes instead of dark-colored robes, because again, in the prequels, the reason why the dark things happen, and I mentioned that in last episode, is because it's kind of showing that Anakin might turn to the dark side, which actually does happen in the end, obviously. But the reason why I believe they did this whole cream-colored robe thing was because he's the light side. Like, he's become back to the light side, and that's why he is wearing light-colored robes instead of dark-colored robes.
I don't know, joined the dark side. They have cookies.
Well, obviously. But that's just what I think that they did. And I just think that the fact that they had Hayden Christensen's appearance on that version of Anakin was better because it connected well with the prequels, specifically Revenge of the Sith. It works a lot better. And my opinion only, although people might have thought, why didn't they put Amy McGregor's head on top of or over?
Well, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the other reasons why people are like, hey, they didn't. Well, yeah. But at the same time, though, it makes sense story-wise because of just the way that you're saying. Like, it really does.
Like, it would be weird to have Amy McGregor on head of Alec Guinness because, again, he's an older version, so that would just be weird. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the point is, it was a really special moment. It's actually one of my favorite moments of Return of the Jedi. It was just amazing. I just love that particular scene. And just in general, the entire ending of Episode 6 was just brilliant. Like they made it wonderfully The music was really, really good. I especially love the music. The music was probably the best part of the ending of episode 6. I love that music. So wonderful and so everything. And basically, that's all I can say about episode 6 and special edition stuff like that. I mean, honestly, there was a lot that people didn't like about those, and that's why we're here to talk about the positive side of anything that doesn't have to do with Star Wars. Doesn't matter if it's re-released or anything. Considering that was my first, in terms of the original trilogy, my first introduction to that particular trilogy using special editions, I didn't think it was that bad. Honestly, I think it was great because they had new shots and new everything, and it was fantastic. I didn't really have anything against it. They were able to, because of the technology they had at the time, they were able to really fix stuff. Because I think I saw that Lucas was not happy with the finished product because of the technology they had at the time. They couldn't really do what they wanted. And that's the truth. That was the fact that the technology wasn't there. I mean, it's obvious because it was the 70s and 80s. They couldn't do everything they wanted. I mean, clearly. I mean, especially if you look at kind of like going back to lightsabers, actually. Before I wrap up, I want to talk about that real quick. One of the things that I really felt was oh my god, kind of an embarrassing moment about how they did Obi-Wan's lightsaber in the battle between him and Vader is it's a wire. You can see a kind of thing going through his robe, and it looks so weird. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Technology at the time, like you're saying.
I mean, they'd be able to fix it now with obviously with post-production, but they didn't have technology enough to make it, so they had to use a cord and go. You can see the cord. It's so weird. Still, basically that's all I can say about the special editions. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about for what was your favorite edition or change?
Hard to pick, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna probably just go with the revamping of the graphics and the ship.
I agree. That was probably the best.
Agreed.
I'm gonna go with changing the Emperor in 5.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. I agree. That was
just yes. That's a big change. That was I'm glad they did that because that gives Amy another screen credit. Well, uncredited, but still, he did appear in it.
No, I think that regardless of whatever we think, no matter what you might think of the series, they are all amazing. I mean, seriously. Every single person that I know who enjoys Star Wars enjoys it for one different reason or the other.
Definitely.
I love it because this is something that I grew up on. My dad and I bonded over Star Wars, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. That was the trinity of my childhood.
Yep.
Other people I know where it literally brought families together and relationships that blossomed from it. I mean, it's seriously an amazing series. So no matter what, whether you love, hate, despise, or whatever floats your boat, you got to admit that it has had amazing, basically, attachment to pop culture and life in general for a lot of people.
Right.
So for that, I know that I bashed him beforehand, and I know that he's not going to ever listen to this, but I'm going to say it. Thank you, George Lucas.
Oh yes, you are a genius, George Lucas. We thank you. We thank you.
You need to work on the audio, but you're a genius.
I mean, he did a great job with all the movies. It doesn't matter if he changed them or not. Although I'm curious.
He only directed the prequels and the first.
That's just weird. Why? I never understood that.
Well, because he knew that he didn't do the best with storytelling.
That's true. Yeah.
Seriously,
he's a good director is the thing. He's just not the best writer.
I've seen him in a documentary. He's a great director. I haven't had an issue with him. He's fantastic. He really knows how to, especially when it comes to CGI characters actually having acting. That's part of directing. You got to make that work. I definitely say that the best version of the special editions were definitely 2011 re-release. I mean, there were plenty of unnecessary things that they did. I actually remember one of the weirdest things. And I'm gonna this is the last thing I'm talking about before we end this here. Is I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there was a Doug in episode 6's Jabba's Palace scene. It's the same race as Sebulba, just walking through it, and people thought it was so unnecessary. I don't really see what the problem was. It was cool to see a familiar face or a familiar species. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't mind at all. As long as it's not Sebulba, we're good.
Well, what's wrong with Sebulba?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was a prick, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he was a prick.
Yeah, he was an asshole. I really did not like him. But it was interesting character, but I don't know. Still, I like the fact that the special editions they connect to this prequel trilogy in terms of the graphics. That's why they were good. But yeah, that's basically all I had to talk about for this episode because it's very much the just everything great about the special editions because it gets plenty of hate. Trust me, I'm sick and tired of the hate. Really can't stand it. Especially since Fox is Disney now. It's like people want the unedited cuts. Like, sorry, not gonna happen. Lucas destroyed them. I'm not kidding. He destroyed the original cuts.
Yep, I blew them up.
Yep, he didn't want people. People are still upset about it. It's like, go over, people. It's Star Wars. I have an opinion. Don't make other people feel bad about it. But anyway, is there anything else you'd like to talk about the special editions?
Not that I can think of.
I think we pretty much covered it.
Okay, that will do it for this episode, and thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Madhouse. I'm so glad we're back. It's been a long time, but we're finally back with it. We hope you enjoyed listening to it. If you did, please hit the like button. We all really do appreciate it. And
thank you kindly.
Please subscribe to my channel and also subscribe to the Ultimate Spy Reacts for reaction videos. Also, make sure you subscribe to bigdinoguy. His link is in the description. Give him some love, and we will be back next time with another episode.
Give me all your loving, all your hugs and kisses too.
We'll see you around.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.
Peace out.